Good evening. Hi. Welcome to the 5 Elements of Fulfilling Life. My name is Bill Chan. And how many of you here, I want to take a tally, would love to have a happier, healthier, and more successful life? I would be the first one to raise my hand. Now, many of you would wish for that. And that constitutes a fulfilling life for most people, even though we may have different definitions here and there. But how do we achieve all of that? I believe it's a balance of things. It's not just one thing or another. And we see that a lot of these celebrities, famous celebrities like in the past, Elvis Presley, Whitney Houston, we see even Michael Jackson, who had accumulated a lot of wealth, right? They have all the money that in the world, and they're famous, good looking. And what happened to these people? Maybe there's a void inside that they don't, somehow they feel sad, and these people end up taking drugs or commit suicide and end their life prematurely. And we see a lot of athletes, right, at the prime of their life, they might look really strong, really fit, but then when they retire, they got all obese, they develop all types of chronic illnesses and die prematurely as well. Now, so I believe it's not just one thing or another to have a fulfilling life. It is a combination of 5 elements. In Tai Chi, there's 5 elements: gold, water, fire, earth, and wood, to balance our lives. And we have to have all 5 in order to make our life fulfill. Now, let me explain. The first one is earth. So if you think about it, everything grows out of the earth, right? Without earth, there's no life. Without soil, there is no sprouts. And human beings the same way. What is our earth, right? It's our diet, what we eat, and also we exercise, right, to keep ourselves lean and fit. Now, the second element is all about positive mindset, right? So positive psychology, having positive emotions, having gratitude and being content with our lives instead of comparing ourselves to our neighbors, which makes us miserable. The third element is looking at stress management. Even though there's so much stress in modern day life, right? We have stress for finances, we have stress in our family, in our relationships, in the jobs, in just everything in life, right? Now, certain amount of stress are really actually good for you, right? So, for instance, did you know that the bone density, how dense your bones are and how strong they are, depends on how much you exercise, more so than what you eat. So if you do impact exercise, like running, for instance, there's less chance of you having bone fractures because your bone is much stronger because you're putting that pressure on your bone, right, when you exercise regularly. Now, same thing with life. Certain amount of stress are good for you, actually, but too much stress develop into chronic illnesses and all types of problems, mental issues as well. When you have too much stress, it can constitute in depression and anxiety. So too much stress is not good for you. You got to learn how to manage that stress. The fourth element is really looking at your environment. Where do you live, right? Who do you hang around with? What type of corporate culture you have surrounding you, and then your family culture as well as your larger country culture. Now, these really defines you, who you are, and how you interact with other people. Now, some parts of the culture are really healthy, others are somewhat toxic. So you got to eliminate the toxic ones and really develop the healthy part of your culture. Now, there's a saying that Harvard researchers have found that your wealth is actually defined by 3 of your closest friends' average wealth. That's how important your friends are, right? So who do you hang around with defines you and your psychology. So what is the last element? The last element is all about professional skills. We all have to make a living in modern day life. So we need to develop the career skills that enable us to advance in whatever we do, right? And make enough money so we can provide a comfortable living for ourselves and our family. That goes without saying, right? So all these 5 elements work in symphony. They work in harmony to balance each other out. With only one of the elements is out of sync, then it affects all the elements. The other elements will sacrifice as well. So you need to have a great balance. Now, what happens from time to time you get off balance? Yeah, well, that's life, right? We all have some urgencies from time to time, but you have to get back to it. Okay, sometimes when my work gets, last week when my work gets really busy, I didn't have time to work out. So this week I gotta make up for it, right? I gotta do a little bit more than my normal routines, for instance. At other times it may be one or the other, but you gotta balance all 5 out. Over time, averaging them out so you have a good life and you will be fulfilled in whatever you do. Now, in the next video, we're gonna dive into it a lot deeper in each one of these elements. So the first video is really an introduction, and please stay tuned and we will introduce you to one of these elements at a time. We'll take a deep dive. Thank you for attending.